You want to know the real secret to how my quiet little neighborhood got turned upside down and ended up on the evening news? Well, it wasn't a tornado or some freak accident. It was a single voice cutting through the morning mist yelling, "This house isn't for low lives like you two. Pack up and get out." That was Karen, our self-proclaimed neighborhood queen, thinking she could chase us out with her favorite weapon, fear. The funny thing is, she picked the wrong family, and before it was over, the whole neighborhood would be full of FBI agents, local police, and news vans, all because Karen tried to make us her latest victims. I'm Marcus Thompson, and I'll tell you right now, you never really know a person until you see what they do and they think they've got all the power. My wife Sarah and I moved into Garden Hills, thinking we'd finally found a place to breathe, a place quiet enough to start over after years of high-stress, high-stakes work. Sarah's a veterinarian, and she just wanted to open a little home clinic, help the stray cats and old dogs that the rest of the world forgot about. Me, I told the neighbors I was an insurance consultant, safer that way considering my actual job with the Bureau, but it didn't take long to realize my old instincts for sniffing out trouble were going to come in handy. Karen Whitfield, former court clerk and the kind of person who collects HOA bylaws, like other folks collect fridge magnets, was the first to welcome us, if you want to call it that. 3 weeks in, Sarah's outside tending to an injured cat, and Karen pops out from behind our garden shed with a face full of authority and entitlement, waving some special regulations book that looks like it survived 3 wars. She's screaming about environmental protection clauses, zoning violations, all that noise. The crazy part, she's not just playing neighborhood cop, she's got props, leather-bound ledgers, fake forms, documents thicker than a phone book. Now Sarah, bless her, tries to reason with her saying I have all the proper licenses and permits. But Karen laughs like she's just heard the punchline to the world's cruelest joke. She tells us she's got veto power, and if Sarah wants to touch any animal in the neighborhood, she needs to pass a competency exam with Karen personally. I have qualifications in animal studies from the School of Life, she says stone-faced. You know what I mean? At that point, I realize I'm not dealing with some cranky neighbor, but with someone who's mastered the art of psychological warfare. I kept my cool, tried the confused husband act, but the truth is my blood was boiling. Is there a problem here, I ask, staying calm even though I want to cuff her right then and there. Karen turns to me smug as ever, telling us we have 24 hours to pack up and ship out, or she'll bring in the real authorities. She says, "You people like it's a curse word." And I know exactly what she's implying. This isn't about zoning, it's about control and maybe a little something uglier. Next morning, just like she promised, Karen shows up with 2 local cops in tow, Officer Martinez and Officer Chen, neither of whom looked too thrilled to be part of her show. Karen accuses us of running an illegal business, says we threatened her, and just for good measure pulls out an official document with fake seals and a made-up code number. The cops ask for our paperwork, which Sarah produces, hands trembling. That's when Mrs. Rodriguez, our sweet 75-year-old neighbor, hustles over and quietly slips me a note. Security camera at my house recorded Karen printing fake documents in her garage last night. I have a USB drive with video. That right there was the first crack in Karen's armor. Turns out Karen's been running this little scam for years, forging documents, shaking down families, making them pay her to go away. And she wasn't working alone. Mr. Baker from across the street, retired Army CID sharp as a tack, hands me a folder full of clippings and timelines, tracking Karen's grifts over the last decade. He tells me his own family paid her $25,000 to leave them alone. That's when it hits me. This is bigger than harassment. This is organized crime. But Karen's so full of herself, she actually calls the police chief to back her up. Chief Jackson shows up exhausted and done with Karen's antics. But as he looks over her so-called evidence, even he starts to see through the act. Meanwhile, Karen escalates. Bright yellow flyers go up all over the neighborhood, our address, our photos, headlines screaming that we're dangerous criminals. Even Sarah's reputation as a gentle animal lover is being trashed. Mrs. Chen, who used to wave to us, now crosses the street to avoid us. Sarah's crushed, asking why is she doing this to us? And I tell her, people like Karen think nobody will fight back. But she was about to learn what happens when she goes after the wrong couple. Midweek, Karen drags out her next witness, Jessica Martinez, a nervous young woman who stumbles through a script about how Sarah killed her cat. Problem is, Mr. Baker digs up the real story In an hour, Karen's niece never even owned a cat and got slipped an envelope for her trouble. Around this time, I get an email evidence that Karen's been laundering money through a fake community development fund, taking payments from dozens of families, sometimes as much as $100,000 at a time. The sender, my wife, Sarah. Turns out she'd been running her own investigation, quietly building a case, and now she's pushing me to stop pretending and start fighting back. Just when you think it can't get more ridiculous, Karen hires fake inspectors. 3 guys in cheap suits with clipboards, Craigslist tags hanging out their pockets. Mr. Baker's got photos and license plates before they even reach our porch. Karen's putting on an entire theater production, but it's unraveling fast. That night, I make the call to my bureau colleague. We're done playing defense. This is a federal case now. The next morning, Karen ups the ante, pulling up with 3 black sedans and another batch of fake agents waving bogus court orders and threatening to seize our home. But the real twist, Sarah's not just my wife, she's a deep-cover FBI operative investigating the same ring from another angle. The chief pulls me aside, confesses the bureau sent us in to break up Karen's operation from inside out. My whole cover story was just as much for me as it was for the neighborhood. It all comes to a head on a Friday morning. Karen shows up in full costume, fake law enforcement convoy, and all ready for her big final act. But this time the crowd is watching. Sarah stands her ground, calls Karen out, and I step forward, dropping the insurance act for good. I pull out my badge, real federal credentials, and arrest Karen right there in front of everyone for fraud, extortion, money laundering, and racketeering. Karen tries to run, her officers scatter, and Chief Jackson just looks relieved it's finally over. The neighbors are cheering, people are filming on their phones, Mrs. Rodriguez is crying happy tears. Even Mr. Baker is shaking hands like we won a championship. Within hours, the feds sweep in. Arrest Karen's lawyer, the bribed judge, and even the mayor. Turns out the whole city government was on the take. The news blows up. Garden Hills becomes ground zero for the biggest corruption scandal in the county. And in the aftermath, something wild happens. The community comes back to life. The real HOA is rebuilt, the families Karen chased off return, and Sarah's clinic thrives. Our marriage, which survived undercover assignments and a small-town tyrant, is stronger than ever, built on truth and trust instead of secrets. Karen. She got 22 years, no parole, no deals. Sent a letter from prison still claiming she was the victim of a conspiracy, but at this point, nobody's listening. Garden Hills finally gets to be that peaceful place we all wanted. No more bullies, just folks looking out for each other. And every time I see a neighbor smile at Sarah or wave as I walk the dog, I know what it took to get here. So, what do you think? Was justice served, or did we just get lucky? Ever had a Karen try to ruin your peace, or seen someone finally get what they deserve? Drop your stories and thoughts below. Let's hear about the real fights for justice in your community. And don't forget to hit that. Like, if you think even the worst bullies can be brought down with the right mix of patience, courage, and a little help from the feds.